Sup fuckers, it's your good old pal EmptyHero, and today, despite the machinations of the Chinese Jew elite, or the kink elite as I like to call them for short, whom are so intent on burning down the internet in order to prevent Alex Jones from warning the French of the New World Order's plot to replace them with Muslim slaves, by first poisoning their food supply with gay frogs, then rubbing pregnant goat pussies on the ground at the base of the Eiffel Tower so the Muslims will be more likely to bend down to sniff it, thus inadvertently praising Mecca. That Facebook is dropping users faster than Brianna Wu's dwindling supply of natural hair follicles. The user base of Tumblr can still act like cunts, but no longer draw them. Twitter is kicking so many people off of their platform each day that soon, almost no one will be able to say for certain exactly what Jaden Smith had for lunch. Though, considering all the exposure he's had on Netflix and feature films lately, I'm gonna go out on a limb and assume he's sticking with his usual diet of Jew producer cum, and 4chan has been split down the middle harder than the last Asian girl I fucked. Seriously, it was like trying to shove a loaf of bread through a keyhole that wouldn't stop screaming that godless, guttural gobbledygook they resort to whenever the karate chops fail to knock the bottle of ether out of my hand. I'm gonna do my utmost to summarize the events of 2018. Now, before the festivities begin, I'd like to dedicate this video to a true American hero. John, inflamed in the membrane McCain, passed away this year on August 25th, just weeks short of being able to cock-block Brett Kavanaugh faster than a second door out of a room or female sobriety. And if we could all just remove our hats and pants in honor of the glioblastoma that ended John's kill streak of 134 semen, which, by the way, has only been bested by his daughter's horrific hard-boiled egg in a wig-shaped head's ability to cause literal semen to self-destruct out of disgust. Which, in addition to Meghan McCain's habit of being a worthless growth in general, makes me wonder whether or not John wasn't secretly cucked by the sperm of his own tumor all along. Really gets your cerebellum a-swelling. Though, John himself wasn't just defined by having a whole lot of medulla oblongata. Due to Brianna Wu's congressional campaign falling limper than his pecker, in a room devoid of crying children, John remains the only member of Congress to get fucked in the ass by a Vietnamese war criminal. Talk about a wet start. Hey-oh! During his brief stint as a pilot, John crashed so many planes that the CIA named him an honorary member of Al-Qaeda. He's said to have had a wonderful singing voice, and if nothing else, one of his many failed presidential runs enabled the creation of the beloved documentary Nailin' Palin, and for that much, we should all be thankful. But enough about the machinations of this malignant maverick and his malfunctioning melon, and on with the show. 2018 was a combustive year where tech giants and liberal watchdogs lashed out at incels, men's rights activists, and generally anybody who stood politically right of William, the differently abled trans girl with a heart of gold and legs of wheat. And it turns out, when you deny disturbed people a harmless outlet for their ramblings, they tend to go full Ted Kaczynski on your booty. Which, on a side note, is why I personally do nothing about www.EmptyHero put a baby in me against my will and refuses to chip in for the special needs classes.com. Let those herpes encrusted sluts write all their blogs and sing kumbaya around the proverbial campfire, so long as they don't actually call the police. P.S. ladies, those ain't my babies, and thanks to years of altering my basic genetic structure by chugging vintage jankum, you bitches literally can't prove shit. Perhaps the best example of this backlash came when YouTube shot holes in Nassim Agdam's incomprehensible blog channel, and this hot-to-trot Baba Hee-Hot who shot a lot of thoughts in the twat returned fire. Despite being the perfect front page material for YouTube's progressive agenda, due to being a 30-year-old childless vegan bodybuilding cat lady from Iran with a penchant for wearing the same sort of fake silicone breast form plates that confused young men with daddy issues often utilize in order to help little Jimmy Norton feel a little bit better about letting them into the back of his car and pants. Nassim got demonetized faster than the video you're watching right now. But when you get down to it, has if it ever really mattered to Google. Though they cook the books hotter than Germans who've read the Holocaust section of my novel Europe, Hillary's Invasion. Google's #1 goal with YouTube has always been social engineering. And that doesn't just mean spotlighting degenerates like this product of repeated sleepovers at John Podesta's house as a child, who literally tastes his own steamin', creamin' vegan semen, but also shadow banning alleged wrong thinkers by limiting their inclusion in search results in an attempt to trick them into thinking that nobody wants to watch their content, leaving conservative voices with a sadistic choice similar to that of the Andy Dick dilemma, which asks whether you'd rather have the ability to suck your own cock or every other cock in the world, designating the subject of this thought experiment as either the Horatio of autofellatio or the good luck buck of suck, which causes the individual to either service his own needs alone or degrade himself to the masses in order to get ahead. Pun intended. This disturbing trend culminated earlier this year when free speech advocate and future David the Gnome cosplayer Ralph Retard was suddenly banned from YouTube, and the near $30,000 he raised for a children's cancer ward were unceremoniously refunded to the meme-loving fucks who supplied them in the first place. While some initially suspected this to be the work of a certain humorless Puerto Rican special needs child in a Morticia Addams wig, who was furious that the funds were raised for sick children rather than for the sophisticated array of pulleys and levers that would have allowed him to wrestle with young hairless boys once more. Further inquiry proved that this sudden knife in the dark stemmed from a post typed up in a building devoid of a wheelchair ramp or adult diaper changing station, thereby excluding our extra special Olympian from the list of potential suspects. Which is good, since I don't want to make any more jokes about Tonka, lest that furious First Nationer with feeble feet forgo the formalities and foment me to the sort of butts to nut gonad grappling he tries to forget about having experienced as a child by chugging Lysol, then suffocate me by sliding one of his vestigial noodle legs down my throat. Fortunately, it soon came to light that BuzzFeed and the Wall Street Journal were colluding with YouTube to censor so-called racist super chats because they'd apparently rather let children die of cancer than allow an alleged bigot to save them. For a while, Google mulled the possibility of accepting such donations and keeping the full amount for themselves under the guise of donating it to a charity that they control, then realized that doing so would make it even harder for them to cook their books and just asked the subject of their debate instead, like the most effeminate of those Thai soccer players trapped in the cave at the moment the other 11 boys realized that they were about to die as virgins. This sudden comeuppance has left us all agape. James Field, having been found guilty of attempting to skirt carpool lane laws by carrying passengers on his hood, was sentenced to 419 years in jail, which works out to about 1 year for every pound of gelatinous ham flesh he splattered onto the crowd. Dr. Ford, overcoming her fear of flying into anything other than face first into a cock, traveled to Washington, D.C. to accuse the now confirmed Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh of drunkenly filling her up, which is fitting as you need an entire bottle of Grey Goose indelible in the hippocampus to want to penetrate either of her two front doors. And perhaps most damning of all, Republicans worldwide were struck a mortal blow when their thousands of years of meddling were undone as Geoff Touchy-Feely My Butthole Really Killy's Game Awards named a gay black furry the best esports player of 2018, which begs the question, should canine semen be considered a performance-enhancing drug? Do functioning white blood cells slow down non-gay furry gamers? And perhaps, most importantly of all, did they have Sonic Fox wear his fursuit suit on stage in order to increase the innate wokeness of the awards? Or were the producers just hoping the fursuit suit would contain his horrific concoction of pro-fighting gamer body odor, cocoa butter, and parakeet skeet? And with that, I would like to leave you all with the final words of the late great Stephen Chicken Hawking.
Do not weep for me, friends, for I'm flying with the angles now. My colostomy bag is now filled with piety, rather than pie and tea. And my beloved wife can no longer smack my tapeworm-like legs with a rusted radio antenna for blinking too loud while she's trying to sleep. Love one another, even the fat chicks. Peace out, Cub Scout.
Hello, perfect, unassailable ladies, penis bird and depressors of abnormally colored individuals, and goo-gobbling explorers of the ever-expanding gender spectrum. 2016 was an awful, man-centric year where hate won, and our Lord and Savior Hillary was forced back into the hole in the ground she slithered out of at the beginning of time. Luckily, like a live centipede's enema after an especially nasty Taco Tuesday, 2017 made everything squeaky clean while retaining that perfectly pungent, partially pushed-in poo perfume that makes my nipples swell up like rancid milk duds. While that terrible rigor of elections, deporter of bean-based life forms, and instant tan-hogging jerk Donald Trump tried his darndest to make the world a safer, more morally responsible place for American families, cooler heads resistant to the adverse effects of the all-encompassing global warming prevailed. Prime Minister of Canada and prime consumer of Canadian goose cum, Justin Trudeau made non-penetrative sex with man's best friends with benefits legal, so Muslims could finally immigrate to Canada without dooming their especially otherkin wives to peanut butterless lives of celibacy. And while some stupid doo-doo heads might think that training a swallow or cock to swallow your cock is inappropriate, keep in mind birds are naturally predisposed to swallowing seeds. Oh, my dear sweet non-specific feminine deity, I just realized my mistake. I'm so sorry. I meant metaphorical doo-doo heads, of course. Having literal doo-doo on your head or the head of your backwards-facing, blood-engorged man-clit is nothing to be ashamed of. In fact, much like protesting a flag by shimmying up the pole and crushing the ornamental ball betwixt your buttock cheeks, covering your visage with the materialized version of your own steaming brown inner feminist is to be encouraged, especially for children. Like grains of sand grinding through the hourglass that contains them, or a single bead red dribble of liquid shit running down the back of my calf and into my orthopedic shoes, where it creates a pleasant squishing sound with every squat thrust. Children pass beyond our grasp in time. It is our responsibility as childless, abortion-loving social justice warriors to properly rear those plump lumps of overgrown prostate clumps. I have a dream where all little boys are forced to dress up like Lactatia from that one episode of Tosh.0 that doesn't have any jokes at the end because the climax already occurred in Tosh's pants. We will force them into erotic cosplay by a combination of laws, lacy shock collars, and reruns of that one episode of I Am Jazz, where Jazz has his balls snipped off with an industrial-sized paper cutter and a fake snatch grafted onto his half-digested gefilte fish-encrusted taint by using the excess skin from his nose and receding hairline. One glorious morn, I shall awake, not merely to find myself covered in the usual combination of phallus phlegm and furious ants, but also that my dream has come true. Luckily, God's chosen media is on our side. Every day, children get to watch Ellen DeGeneres perform such amazing comedic feats as flinging Kmart gift cards at unemployed single mothers, dancing while pretending to have a soul, and assembling cardboard boxes with her tongue. The NFL showcases knuckle-dragging retards flipping off the American flag because their agents convinced them that the flag was the reason why they're not allowed to get caught beating their wives too often most of the time. Of course, if the players had any sense, they just tell the police that their wives are being Nazis, so they had no choice but to punch them in the back of the head while they weren't looking. Problem solved. Though, honestly, I don't get all the Republican hullabaloo on this one. What's more American than a bunch of blacks sweating on a field for the profit of Jews who've never worked a day in their life? Speaking of pyramid construction units retrofitted for the purpose of destroying disgusting, heteronormative American institutions, Star Wars has become such wonderful feminist propaganda that even the evil white male villain is blessed by gyno supremacy. Ben Solo in The Last Jedi is so childlike and hairless. I'm surprised the creators of NeoGAF didn't storm the set and drown him in pulsating pints of piping hot penis poop. Netflix helped normalize the sexualization of hideous children with their newest flop, Big Mouth. Though, to be perfectly honest, if I wanted to watch a talking cunt pervert the minds of retarded children, I'd have happily attended a Hillary Clinton rally instead. Stephen Colbert kept Fuhrer Blumph on his disgusting orange toes by pointing out his every little mistake to the American public. Sure, Obama spent American money to give guns to Mexican drug cartels, ammunition to Muslim terrorists, and size 12 basketball shoes for his husband Michelle. But thanks to Stephen and a lucrative partnership with the Clinton Foundation, every American retiree boring enough to have nothing better to do at 11 p.m. than watch TV knows that Donald Trump broke the White House's sacred one scoop of ice cream per person policy and gave himself 2 scoops! Not that there's anything wrong with that. A scoop of ice cream is basically a milky, hairless ball. And when you get 2 of those together, some peanut butter, and a plane ticket to the closest Canadian kennel, that's when the real fun begins. And it's not just Colbert joining in the good fight. Comedy Central is so dedicated to shitting out anti-Trump propaganda that even a comedic genius like Jim Jeffries comes off as a neutered animal, quietly enduring the misery of his existence, like one of those dogs PETA leaves outside in the snow for the donation drive commercials. Oh, the glory of the post-comedic age, where simply calling someone you disagree with a Nazi counts as comedy. CNN says that this is an apple. However, when you peel the red skin away, revealing the white interior, CNN will also say that it's a Nazi. Better mash it with a bike lock from behind before it says something you disagree with. Dan Harmon brought Rick and Morty into the post-comedic age by bringing in an all-female crew of writers whose only credits to date include writing for VeggieTales and swallowing Dan's special Semitic Szechuan sauce. Not only does Cartoon Network endorse this policy, next season they're bringing in Dan's butt plug and cumsock as executive producers. And
it's been long enough into the video that the fat bitch with chopsticks in her hair, who arbitrarily decides which videos are and are not hate speech, based on which direction the catfish in her colostomy bag begins swimming as she queefs the alphabet, has already approved this video for monetization, so let's get down to business. Currently on YouTube, you can film a corpse swinging from a tree while making funny faces, but not say something that a blue-haired swallower of gender fluid might hypothetically find offensive. When Ajit Pajit left his corner store just long enough to repeal net neutrality as punishment for years of internet-based poo-in-the-loo jokes, everyone worried that the service providers would block politically incorrect websites. Instead, sites like YouTube and Twitter have deplatformed anybody with a functioning set of balls. You know, other than a set pressed against their non-prescription hipster glasses. My own YouTube channel has limited ads. Strangely, only videos where I tell stories based on my personal life experiences are affected. While I may not agree with the opinions of belly button head butter extraordinaire Zoe Quinn, I understand that her life experience, likely of being repeated molested by her dad, has shaped her thought patterns and views. And I do not begrudge Zoe for attaining a book deal before I did. In fact, I'm glad to know that there is finally someone other than Milo Yiannopoulos who can tell me who I need to blow to get a book deal. Just the other day, I had Zoe over for some blintzes and a game of Parcheesi. She looked a little tired, so I said, "Hey Zoe, take a load off, girl." She looked at me, nodded, and spat on the floor. My dog sat in the puddle, and now the poor thing is pregnant with some game journalist's horrific chud baby. Speaking of walking abortions, Polygon staff knows so little about the games they use as a platform to spew their hateful communist propaganda that when actual footage of them playing games is released, they DMCA anyone that shares it. What follows is my best attempt to recreate Polygon's Doom 4 footage. Oy vey! How does this little clicking GUI work? And I have to press the key buttons too? I don't really get the point of this gaming device. I mean, where does the money come out? What? No money? Then put in that Mario game, you know. The one with all the shekels just floating around, good for the filching. My favorite part is that for every 100 coins you yoink, you get another Goyim slave to dance around and do your bidding. Sometimes I make the pasta-sucking bastard jump off a ledge just to make him suffer. Oh, I know. My next article will be about how this Doom game is anti-Semitic for the skeleton monsters being the only ones without foreskins, and how the Mario game is sexist because of the phallic nature of the pipes. Shlomo, grab my unleavened butt plug, typewriter and wig. Polygon is gonna love this one. Ow! This lack of qualifications isn't merely limited to game reviewers. Idea men blitheringly stupid enough to call themselves game developers have lost millions of dollars this year on the failures of Battleborn and Lawbreakers. Things have gotten so bad that Randy Pitchford, CEO of Gearbox, has been forced to take time away from embezzling Sega's money, encouraging his son to strangle small animals, and shoveling wriggling piles of those still breathing victims into his wife's gaping maw, in order to send death threats to himself and commission porn of Overwatch characters in hopes of sparking a controversy that will bring attention to his bargain bin game. Cliff Hasbinsky is so desperate for people to play Lawbreakers that he is actually considering segregating the in-game bathrooms, which just seems pointless to me. Why bother subdividing where the feces goes in your game when the entire game is a pile of shit in itself? Now, I know a lot of you have been waiting for me to make jokes about the Hollywood Me Too scandal, but unlike Harvey Weinstein in a sporting goods store, I don't want to blow my load right off the bat. I honestly don't get what the big deal is. When a man you consider a friend pulls out his dick in front of you is a compliment, a precious gift. And ladies, instead of looking that gift horse in the mouth, you should do the right thing and put that gift in your mouth instead. Louis C.K. is a wonderful man. Days before the news broke about him flopping his disgusting shit-encrusted cock and lopsided ginger balls out in front of a couple of talentless open micers, the PEA, or Premature Ejaculators of America, asked Louis to speak at a conference. Of course, when Louis heard women would be present, he immediately came, which is good, because last year the PEA was so worried that no one would show up to the conference on time that they had to lie and tell everybody that it was a conference about bukkake, so everyone would come at the same time. Somehow, no one seemed to mind that Kevin Spacey was raping little boys, or as he put it, gaying it forward. Apparently, claiming to sit on dick like you were just bit in the ass by a cobra and the balls contain anti-venom is the best way to get out of a pickle these days. Even Eminem had to allude to using a nude dude's food as food to rekindle his dead career. And I quote, "Picka picka picka, Donald Trump, more like Donald Blumph. I go to grind some stumps. A little reminder when I find the rumps, there better be some hair and balls that's plump." Hello ladies, gentlemen, and attention-starved retards of intermediary genders. 2016 was a terrible, racist year, according to the people that think just about everything is terrible and racist. Actors stood atop the soapboxes they usually utilize to hide the fact that they're 5-foot-tall manlets, and begged us to vote in support of their master's special interests. Little did they know, despite Hillary Clinton's overwhelming support from childless spinsters, ISIS-aligned Saudi princes, and triple-voting dead Californians, she would ultimately fail against the most powerful form of concentrated hatred known to man, Pepe the cartoon frog. Britain exited the European Union, which has somehow made them the bad guys. That's right, by not siding with Germany, Britons have become fascist Nazis. Ain't that some shit? The first 2 times Germany tried to take over the world, they used the unforgiving trinity of bombs, chemical weapons, and David Hasselhoff. Now they're trying to guilt nations into willingly surrendering their sovereignty by using political correctness as leverage to flood their countries with disloyal foreigners. On a similar note, Americans voted to opt out of the Mexican Dishwashers for Dollars exchange program, which apparently makes all of us horrible, evil racists. That's right, not wanting to exploit Mexicans as slave labor makes you a bigot. At least that is according to the mainstream media that almost nobody watches anymore. Try as they might, the mainstream media failed to convince Americans that it was in their best interest to vote against their best interest, and 4chan of all places became a more reputable source for news than CNN as a result. WikiLeaks exposed Slimy Limey, an enemy to toothbrushes both domestic and abroad, John Oliver, for taking direct orders from the White House as to which stories he is and is not allowed to cover. Trevor Noah lied, stating that he was looking forward to 8 years of making jokes at Donald Trump's expense, when in reality, Trevor is getting replaced by Chris Hardwick before the end of the year, then deported back to whatever godless mudhole he crawled out of. Between allegations of child molestation, devil worshipping, and associating with Cher, it's a small wonder that anybody defends the Democratic Party anymore. Though to be fair, the Democratic National Committee did collude to keep a Jew out of office, and for that much, we should all be thankful. Let's be honest here. Bernie Sanders would never have beaten Donald Trump. His entire campaign was based on appealing to blacks by offering them college scholarships, which is pointless. Collecting welfare does not require a degree, Bernie, though, now that I think about it, collecting welfare and earning liberal arts degrees do appear to go hand in hand. In 2016, the term alt-right was created by, then instantly co-opted by self-promoting attention whores that will literally say and do anything for money. Does it bother anybody else that the self-appointed figurehead of a group of family-oriented blue-collar workers is a turd-burgling kumquat who has swallowed more black semen than the Indian Ocean during hurricane season? The NFL, unsatisfied with merely filling their league with wife-beating ex-convicts, produced the players so retarded that his knuckles drag even when standing motionless for the national anthem. Now, I don't fault Colin Kaepernick for feeling pride in the African-American heritage that exists exclusively within his beige head, but the only black life that actually mattered in 2016 was Harambe the gorilla. Frankly, I get why people are distraught over his demise. For the first time in decades, someone tried to take on a fathership role with a black baby, and Whitey shot him dead. On a less cheery note, the Muslims of 2016 misunderstood the meaning of keep on trucking, injured hundreds in an Orlando nightclub when bullets splashed high-velocity AIDS blood onto unsuspecting degenerates, and bombed harder in Brussels than the all-girl Ghostbusters reboot at the box office. Honestly, I'm pretty sure more people survived a marriage with Patton Oswalt in 2016 than saw the new snooch-only Ghostbusters film. Even everybody's favorite diversity hire, Leslie Jones's self-leaked butt-sex photo shoot received better ratings. And to be fair, as ugly and as nasty and as stank as I thought Leslie Jones was, the woman she fucked in the ass in that photo set was even worse. Being the strong, independent gypsy that don't need no man that she is, Anita cut ties with her tard handler, John McIntosh, and fell off the face of the earth faster than if she leaned nose first off the side of a mountain. On a more delusional note, Brianna Wu is running for office. Which office, she cannot yet say, as she is still investigating which elected positions a registered sex offender is allowed to hold. Odds are, considering Brianna's history as a mentally ill cross-dresser with a persecution complex, he'll likely wind up displacing Chris Chan as mayor of Quickville. Brianna Wu also released the much-anticipated PC port of his critically acclaimed pile of monkey shit, Revolution 60, a $300,000 plus budget game that has sold less copies and made less money than my $0 budget ebooks. In better news for social justice warriors who pretend to like video games, Blizzard put a dike on a box, which just goes to prove you really are what you eat. Now I know this video has probably offended those among us of darker shades than white, but don't you worry, this video is about to end, and you can safely go back to banging dead cats together in the middle of the road like you slinky rice-burning motherfuckers always seem to do when my GPS takes me through Chinatown. Thanks for your time, and goodbye 2016. I don't care what them bitches say. You was a good yeah to me. If you was a woman, I'd make sweet love to you. Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and whatever the fuck Cosmo Wright considers himself to be this week. Welcome to the 2015 Social Justice Warrior Wars, hosted by yours truly, the EmptyHero. I would like to start by clarifying my position on Cosmo. I used to think he was a mentally ill homosexual who painted his nails to obscure the feces that stained his fingertips. But now that he's become Narcissa Wright, I I see that this boy loves pussy so much that he wants to carve one into his own body so that he can smell the cum whenever he wants to without having to ask Anita Sarkeesian to burp in his face. You can't get much straighter than that. Now, 2015 was a year marked by victories for the social justice crowd. Responding to claims of sexist representations of females in their games, Tecmo Koei canceled Dead or Alive Extreme 3 in the West. Apparently, the only artificial women allowed in gaming are castrated men like Brianna Wu and Anthony Birch. Now, some people would say that this is merely the invisible hand of the free market at work. Jim Sterling in particular believes in many invisible appendages, mostly due to him not being able to see past his own disgusting bitch tits. This gelatinous mound of humanoid disappointment is so fat, his wife is the result of cellular mitosis and not even it will fuck him. Speaking of products destined to disappoint, not only are the rumors of a Zoe Quinn movie true, they're already scouting out locations for Zoe Snatch. This movie is truly pressing technology forward. For close-up of Zoe Snooch, the first ever fish lip lens was employed. Now, I'm not saying that Zoe has a lot of vagina, I'm just saying that when I tried to snatch her purse last week, I circumcised her by mistake. I would also like to correct a false rumor that's out there. The Zoe Quinn film is not opening early for 50 members of the press. Zoe Quinn herself is. You see, at the Zoe Quinn movie premiere, popcorn isn't the only thing that comes in a massive salty box. The social justice crowd also rejoiced when I got banned from Twitter earlier this week. On reviewing my final tweets, I have to wonder who could have the balls and the scrotum and the crusty, hairy, disgusting man nipples to pull the tampon strings necessary to get me banned. On an unrelated note, I would like to congratulate Brianna Wu on another year surviving all those death threats she claims to receive. Some of you may think that Brianna's being paranoid, but I believe Brianna when he says his life is constantly at risk. That's probably due to him having AIDS, though. I'm not saying Brianna enjoys sex with strangers, but he did meet his husband at a glory hole in the bathroom of a Chinese restaurant. To be fair, Frank wasn't looking to suck any dicks that day. He's just a Mongolian asshole that enjoys destroying Chinese walls. Now, I shouldn't insult Brianna Wu. He might use some of the $7 he made on Revolution 60 to get me banned from YouTube, too. Speaking of petulant children with no real power, Anita Sarkeesian appeared before the Women's UN Committee and gave a very well-received speech, after which absolutely nothing was accomplished due to the Women's UN having zero authority over anything. Perhaps they should change their name to the cloutless United Nations team. Now some of you might be thinking, you silly goose, you forgot to give out awards this year. Well, giving out awards would mean rewarding exceptionalism, which social justice warriors despise. So this year, as with every year, they are all equally losers. Goodbye! Hello ladies, gentlemen, and whatever the fuck that knuckle-dragging abomination Patricia Hernandez is supposed to be, allow me to welcome you to this year's Social Justice Warrior Awards. I would like to start out by apologizing to Manly Tears. We were considering having the little guy co-host this ceremony. Unfortunately, it turns out the only thing he's fit to host is juvenile leukemia. Now this was a transformative year for the game community as a whole. Slowbeef canceled his much beloved Retro-Play series of game critique videos, claiming to rather focus on not having sex with his fat lesbian wife. In recent weeks, however, he has confessed that Retro-Play was at odds with his social justice warrior leanings and that he worried that his child might be affected by the negative humor. Now, I don't want you to worry, Slowbeef. That child is probably not yours. Next, I would have liked to have congratulated Boogie2988 for losing 20 pounds. Unfortunately, that weight turned out to be an old colostomy bag that peeled off of his back, and he later found and consumed it. More importantly, the gaming community was struck a terrible blow this year when Phil Fisk quit independent game development. Likely, this was due to his not knowing how to code, several pending racketeering charges, and him being such a turd-hoarding hipster that indie game development lost its appeal the moment he became famous for it. The ramifications of his departure have spread faster and wider than Zoe Quinn in a room with men that she believes can help that cavalcade of cum-encrusted cocks, stolen code, and hipster welfare begging that she dares to call a career. For example, fearing that his coverage of misogynist video games might have brought harm to women, Adam Sessler left his job at Rev3 Games. Adam Sessler loves women so much, in fact, that he knocked a hairless Indonesian boy out of a coconut shoe with a bag of cocaine, dressed that boy up in Adam's finest silk pantyhose, and married him, just to avoid subjecting an actual female bride to the horrific cocaine-fueled ceremonies of fisting, animal strangulation, and freestyle rapping that Adam considers lovemaking. And speaking of products of repeated child molestation, let's begin the awards with the award for the tiniest, most spit-encrusted penis of the year, which of course goes to Ian Miles Chiang or Arthur Chu. I'm not really sure which of them is which, and neither are they. Both of them are hamster-like in appearance, some variety of godless, wall-hating Mongolian, and are severely cockeyed. Now I know what you're thinking, cockeyed. I thought the cocks went in their mouths and in their gritty, rice-encrusted buttholes. And to that I say, don't get ahead of me, you silly goose. Next, the award for the least convincing transsexual will be awarded. First, I would like to congratulate our first runner-up, John McIntosh. This was an extremely close decision, and if he never opened his mouth, swayed then childbirth and hips, or took 5 black cocks at once, you'd almost swear he was a man. First place, of course, goes to the self-appointed leader of complaining, Brianna Wu. This 50-year-old, scarecrow-faced, homosexual embarrassment to the Jewish peoples hates men so much that he wants to dress up like a woman and service men sexually. Wow, what an amazing plan! His technique is so subtle and nuanced. By starting every sentence with, as a woman, utilizing MySpace angles shot from the Hubble telescope, and twisting your spine so that you'll never get out of bed again. This double-chinned goo gobbler has conned nearsighted homosexuals all over the world into believing he is a woman. Here's a newsflash, Brian. You being a cunt is not the same as you having a cunt. And no, that festering centipede-infested axe wound you got karate chopped into you by the asexual Aspergian Chinese immigrant you married in exchange for $200,000 does not count. Real vaginas cannot hold water, let alone turn that water into ice-cold clamato while burping the alphabet. Now, I can't mention John McIntosh without also mentioning Anita Sarkeesian, as she is medically considered a malignant growth on his left wrist. For her tireless works of reading things John wrote on a napkin while struggling to stay awake, failing to name 3 sexist games while on the Colbert Report, and repeatedly resisting the masculine charms of Bluto, we award Anita with the award for the snazziest attire. Now, some people would say that Anita is just a cross-dressing Iranian gas station attendant that John McIntosh hired to read the drivel he writes in his head while waiting for an erection to develop into his mouth while kneeling in the bathroom of the last Californian Chuck E. Cheese. Next, the award for silliest self-appointed name goes to Caroline Petit. Now, this award I disagree with. I'm going to have a long talk with the boys upstairs about this one. Now, I don't know about you, ladies and gentlemen, but when I think about this 6-foot, 12-inch tall slab of neurotic Nordic man meat, petite is the first word to come to mind. Never mind the crack in his forehead or the million-mile stare. I am certain that John McIntosh would gladly declare that he finds Carolyn sexy attractive. They flirt on Twitter all the time. In fact, I'm certain that any man that I have mentioned or will mention in this video will have no problem declaring their attraction for transgendered women such as Carolyn Petit, Brianna Wu, or Leigh Alexander. Shit, Leigh Alexander is a gay, transsexual, black Jew. That's like 5 different kinds of things that you'll get in trouble for not wanting to have sex with it. Now, some of you might think that the award for best host should go to me. But you would be wrong. You'd be intelligent, delightful, delectable, and delicious, but wrong. The winner for the best host of 2014 actually is Anthony Birch. Just last week he had me and 4 of my chocolate-encrusted friends from my basketball team over his place for Monopoly, drinks, and his wife. Now I know what you're thinking. The men mentioned so far in these awards would gladly give their brides to the noble knights of nobility, but Anthony goes that extra mile. Not only does he set the stage with perfumed, pre-fluffed throw pillows in every corner of the room, but he'll massage the wrinkles out of your testicles. He even cleans up the sloppy cumsies all of us silly gooses left behind on his wife, his bedspread, and his beard. Now, I'm not saying that Anthony Birch is gay, just that he has taken so much molten hot mahogany man molasses in his pooper that he has developed an acute case of sickle cellulite. Of course, speaking of cellulite brings us right to Randy Harper, and the award for best filter for people with so many mommy issues that they need an obese, drug-addicted woman to decide who they should and should not be able to see on Twitter. Now, I can't blame Randy Harper for trying to filter out trolls on Twitter. Filtering is an important facet of her life. If not for filtering, how else would she get the plankton and the brine shrimp vital for her crossing of the Bering Sea? I'm not saying she's fat, just that she looks like the 3rd panel of an Andrew Dobson inflation comic. Also, she's fat. These awards are specifically created in Randy's honor, and since I'm a member of her prestigious list of people that somebody else told her was a big stupid doo-doo head, I would ask all of you at home to not only inform Randy, but the other recipients of the awards for the honors and the gratuities that they have earned this night. Thank you all. Gabe bless you and good night.
Knock it off, right?